Alright, so good morning boys and girls. Today you're going to take this decimal place value mat and we're going to practice writing some numbers, observing their place value so that we're able to shade the model correctly and then finally write some expanded form and some expanded notation. So let's get started. Our number is going to be written in standard form first. So I'm going to go ahead and write the word standard form in this box right here. And the number that we're going to be talking about today is 1 and 258. And we're going to call that thousandths because that 8 is in the thousandths place. So when I make sense of that number, because remember math should make sense, I'm going to go back to the top and I'm going to fill in that information. So there is one whole, so I'm going to go ahead and put the number 1 here. We have 2 tenths, so we can write that as decimal 2. Or we might see it referred to as 2 over the total 10 in fraction form. We have the number 5 hundredths, so we have 5 in the hundredths place, or we can think of that as 5 over 100. And then finally we have 8 thousandths. So I have decimal 8, or 8 over 1,000. So that's going to get us started with our number. Remember, standard form is when we use numbers to represent a number that we're talking about. The next thing I want to do is I want to do some shading. So this is kind of carrying over what we've learned in our small groups from last week and then again on Monday. We're going to shade the model to match the number that is represented. So when I see the number 1, I obviously want to shade in this whole piece right here. And because I don't want to have to shade in the entire thing, I'm going to use a little bit of a pattern to represent this whole model being shaded. At any time, if you feel like I'm moving too fast, please pause the video so you can catch up. The next thing I want to do is look at the number 2. The number 2 is in the tenths place. And when I look at my model, there are 10 equal pieces. So to shade in 2 tenths, I'm simply going to shade in 2 of the tenths that are represented. Moving along, I'm moving to the hundredths, and I have the number 5 that's represented. So I need to shade in 5 hundredths. So I'm going to count out 5. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. 5 pieces are shaded out of a possible 100. And then finally we're looking at the thousandths. I have 8 thousandths. So remember, each one of these has 10, so I don't even need a whole box. So I'm going to shade in carefully, and I'm going to zoom in so you can see that. So there's 5 there. So I'm going to have to go really tiny. 6, 7, and 8. So there's my 8 thousandths. So at this time, your model, your decimal value mat should match mine.